Okay, so welcome everybody to this week's Quantum Alignment Show. This is the pre-holiday / holiday edition. I am Karen Curry Parker. I'm here with Cindy Harley, my right hand gal who's pushing all the buttons and posting things. You should have today, and Cindy's probably got this posted already, there is a handout there for you to use as a worksheet to go through what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Chiron today. So I'm going to start with just giving you a little bit of background about Chiron and what it is and the importance that it plays in your chart. I know that my intention was to leave as much time as possible to cover as many charts as possible. So it's going to be really quick overviews. I am not doing a whole big chart reading. I am strictly today looking at Chiron in the charts that you all sent. That's actually going to work to your advantage, so you're actually going to find that we're going to hit a lot more common ground than you realize, because Chiron is a relatively slow-moving planet. So many of you are going to have the same Chiron. So you're going to learn about maybe somebody else's Chiron, but it's also going to be yours because it's more of a generational kind of planet. And so it moves a little bit slowly. So it'll be relevant to you, all of you. You will get the most out of this program today if you have either a copy of my book, Understanding Human Design. That'll give you information about the meaning of the gates, or I'm sorry, I'm looking at my bookshelf. You guys don't know that my bookshelf is over here. Any really great, simple book about the I Ching helps a lot. You can look at, there are other human design books out there too, some of them that go into the gates. There are a lot of different options, a lot of different places for you to learn about the meaning of the gates. I am going to hit the highlights of the ones that we'll probably see. I'm guessing most of you are born either in the 50s or the 60s and the 70s, because that tends to be where most of our clients are born. So as I said, you'll find some common stuff. This is actually the second part in a series of quantum alignment shows that I am doing about life purpose. Last week I talked about incarnation crosses, and I hope you guys had some fun looking at your incarnation crosses. This week I'm looking at Chiron, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the position of Chiron. Next week we have special guests. Cindy is going to be here with Jamie. And Cindy, what are you guys going to be talking about?
We're going to be talking about, we're going to go more into the power in the chart, looking at how you
the heart.
And yes, we're focusing on the G in the identity center. So we're kind of focusing on some of the gates there.
Yes, the heart of who you are. The following week, we're going to be back, and we're going to continue with the Life Purpose program. We're going to be looking at Saturn and Jupiter and how those two dance together in your chart and how that helps you determine certain aspects of your life purpose. So, all right, so let's get started and look at just information about Chiron. Okay, whoops, hold on a sec.
While you're pulling up the talks, if they forgot to mail in their Chiron chart, if they're listening, since Chiron, they could, as you're going through other charts, their Chiron gates could come up in some of the charts that people came in.
Don't panic if I don't have your chart. As I said, the Chiron is a slower moving planet. We're probably going to hit your Chiron. So either way. So, all right. So welcome to the Quantum Alignment Show. We already did that part, right? So we're going to talk about Chiron. Now, I want to just look at the meaning of Chiron in the chart. Chiron was actually a centaur, I believe, in Greek mythology. And the centaurs were not particularly nice. They were kind of nasty. But Chiron was a really nice centaur who had healing powers, and he became a healer. So sometimes we talk about Chiron in the astrology chart as being the wounded healer. So what happens with Chiron and the purpose of Chiron is that our Chiron is a place where we bring into our life, I don't like this vocabulary, but roll with me, because I don't think we're wounded per se, because our souls are not wounded, but we come into the life and we carry into our life a life purpose And that life purpose tells us a lot about the story of who you are and what you're here to live in this incarnation. And that story always has built into it a certain degree of challenge, because it's through surmounting the challenges in the chart that we deepen our self-awareness, we learn to love ourselves, we become more masterful over ourselves, and ultimately through that journey of the things that challenge us, we also learn what we need to learn and then ultimately share what we've learned with the world as part of our purpose. And Chiron is very, very much like that. I had a client one time who said that her pastor in her church used to talk about new level, same devil. But every time you up level yourself in your life, every time you go through a cycle of growth and expansion, you end up kind of coming face to face with that same old issue that you probably have been dealing with most of your life. That doesn't mean you're broken, stuck, blocked, screwed up, whatever. It means that's your challenge point. And that devil that comes up every time you up level yourself, you go through a cycle of growth and expansion, that issue that comes up, maybe it's that thing you've been in counseling before or you've been in therapy before and you thought you had it mastered and boop, there it comes back again every time you do a growth cycle. That's probably your Chiron. There are, by the way, a couple of things in your human design chart, a couple of planets that give us those sort of repeated lessons. Chiron was, let me just show you kind of where it is on the chart so you can see it. It's down at the bottom. Not all human design charts will have Chiron on it, and not all human design people will look at Chiron. I think Chiron is actually very, very important. And part of why I always put it on my charts and use it when I do a reading is because I think that as the nature of our consciousness has changed, the length of our lifespan has changed, and I think the growth and expansion that we're going through as a species right now, that I think ultimately is causing us to become more spiritually conscious beings, that Chiron becomes a really important marker in the chart, particularly not just about what's challenging you, but particularly also about the position of Chiron in the chart being the maturing point in the chart. Let me back up and tell you what I'm trying to say and really get clear about this. First of all, let me give you just some basic background. Chiron was discovered in 1978. In astrology, anytime we discover a planet or a planetoid, that's the moment at which the energy of that planet or that planetoid or asteroids or all some of the outer lying celestial bodies that some astrologers look at, the moment it's discovered is the moment it gets activated in your chart. So for some of you who have had a little bit more journey on the path of life, you may, when we look at your Chiron, you may go, oh, in 1978, yeah, I can see how this thing got activated for me, right? So it gets activated in your chart once it's discovered. Now, it also, Chiron especially, really became sort of an interesting marker for a new generation of children. And what we see in people who were born in 1978 and after, these are our millennials and some of these kids, you know, the other day I did a reading for someone who was born in 1982 and I'm like, oh my God, they're almost 40. How could that happen, right? So I'm dating myself here. But for those people who are born 1978 and after, Chiron really isn't so much a place of challenge as it really is more an indication of spiritual purpose. And if you remember, if you've been around long enough on this planet to remember some of the phrases like we used to use, like the new children or the indigo children or the crystal children, you know, these children that we talked a lot about in the 90s and in the early 2000s, these are the kids that were born around the time or began to be born around the time of the discovery of Chiron. So Chiron kind of heralded or astrologically sort of demarcated the advent of the new kids, right? The psychic kids, the spiritual kids. So it is interesting to look at what were you doing in 1978 and how did this theme come into the theme of your Chiron play out in 1978? I use Chiron Return, meaning the time and day when Chiron returns to the position that was in at the moment of your birth. That's called your Chiron Return. That happens approximately between the ages of 48 to 52. I use the Chiron Return as the real midlife marker in the chart. From a life cycle perspective, the Chiron Return, 48 to 52, somewhere in there, really becomes sort of the line in the sand between your youthful adventures and that place where you have to get eyeball to eyeball with yourself and ask yourself, okay, how serious am I about actually fulfilling my purpose? How deeply committed am I to being who I am, doing what I came here to do, zero compromise, zero hostages and prisoners. What do I need to do to really get real and authentic about who I am and start working on leaving my legacy on this planet? That's oftentimes what comes up for us when we cross through that Chiron return cycle. And especially for those of you who are 6-line profiles, and a profile is like the little fraction in your chart, and you'll see it, some of you will see it down at the bottom of your chart. It'll say something like role model hermit, or it'll say opportunistic role model if you have a 6 in it. If you have a 6 line in your profile, that is really the point where you step into the fulfillment of your life purpose as a role model, and it tends to be for 6-line profiles, this Chiron return cycle, a little bit more intense than it is for everybody else. But I find that it's actually really an intense cycle for almost everyone. And it is not unusual when you cross into that Chiron return cycle, first of all, for whatever is in your Chiron to get activated again. Okay, so it really gets inflamed. It's like right in your face during that cycle. And it's pushing on you, saying, you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to really do what you came here to do, right? How that looks in your regular everyday life is that everything that's out of harmony with what you need to do to fulfill your purpose is up for renegotiation. And sometimes we see people saying to themselves, okay, I've done everything I should do, right? I supported my kids. I took care of my kids. I was a good partner. I did the career that I went to college for. Now it's my turn. What do I want? What do I need? And so sometimes when we hit that phase, we're asking ourselves those questions. It is not unusual for everything that is keeping you from being authentic to kind of vibrate out of your field. So sometimes we see big shifts and changes during this Chiron return cycle. We'll see, marriages sometimes come apart. We'll see changes in health, changes in work, changes in finances. It can be a time of really intense upheaval. It's not negative. If you don't know what's happening, you certainly can react to it in a negative way sometimes. But it's really about your life taking off the table anything that's in the way that might be keeping you from fulfilling your life purpose. And as I said, you usually come up eyeball to eyeball with whatever's in your Chiron. When you master this Chiron energy, so this is actually my chart here. So my Chiron is in the 22, which is grace. And the 22 has 2 different distinct challenges. The first challenge of the 22 is learning to discover and find your own inner beauty, your own grace, right? It is that place where you learn to find what's beautiful inside of you. That's the first part of that. The second part of the 22 is that the 22 is actually a place where we see surrender. And the surrender of the 22 is about trusting that when you let go and do what you came here to do and fulfill your purpose, the emphasis being surrender and trust, right? Big scary words. When you surrender and trust, you will be given all the resources you need to make a difference in the world, to make the world a better place. So there's the theme of acknowledging your own inner beauty, being in your own state of grace with yourself, and being in a place of grace with resources and abundance when you let go and surrender and trust that as long as you're doing what you came here to do and you're aligned with your purpose and your mission and you're being honest and authentic, then you will receive everything you need to do what you came here to do. All right. I think that's it, right? Okay. Oh, I just want to tell you this because I don't want to forget to do this. In the worksheet that I gave you, you will see that there is, oh, Cindy, I have an idea. Cindy's.
Okay.
Let's give everybody the Gates cheat sheet. Can we do that?
I believe we can.
Okay, let's do that. All right, so we're going to give you guys, I'm going to give you guys, this is my Passover / Easter / Happy Spring / yay, it's a full moon tomorrow, whatever holidays thing you want to be celebrating. I'm going to give you guys a Gate cheat sheet. This is like one-liners on all 64 of the hexagrams, okay? So one-liners. You can go through these one-liners. This is not going to give you a whole ton of information about the gates. If you want more information about the gates, go get my book. But you can kind of use that as a little bit of a cheat sheet. What I want you to do is look at what gate is your Chiron position is in. Look, what is Chiron lighting up in your chart? And I want you to, from those gates, craft a story. And I've given you in your handout sheet that I gave you a little bit of a platform for you to look at about how you could write that out as a story. And we'll do one or two towards the end. Cindy, if you can help me remember. Well, I'll come back to you and I'll show you how I can write this out. I really want to encourage you to go on a journaling journey with your Chiron energy, because it's going to tell you a lot about yourself, where you might be holding yourself back, and where you might need to dig deeper to bring out the fuller expression of the truth of who you are. That's it. That's all I have to say about Chiron. I'm just going to look at charts now, unless we have any questions that I need to address. Cindy, do we have any questions?
There was a question on where the handouts are. There's a link further up. I'm going to do the link for first the...
Yeah, if you go in the
I'm
chat.
still searching for the correct link for the modern keynotes, but they'll also be posted after this class. We'll put them in the description of the video, so they'll also be posted there.
Cool. Yeah, so don't worry, you're going to get access to the, oops, I got to go find this. You're going to get access to the worksheet that I'm going to give you with all the storytelling stuff in it and the Gates worksheet. So just hang on. We'll put it in the chat. Cindy will post it on Facebook. Be patient with us while we post links, and we'll be there in just a sec. Okay, so I'm ready to get started. Are you ready to get started? You don't have to do much, Cindy. You can just keep finding links.
I'm just going to kind of sit here and be awed by your ability to do this so quickly.
Yeah. I just realized we took the birth dates off, so I can't, I was going to say anybody that's born in this year, pay attention, but now I'm like, oh, I don't know. Okay, so all right, so pay attention to the position of your Chiron as I go through this, because I don't have the years for this, because I took all the birth data off the charts. So I skipped this step. So let's start first with Sashka. Sashka has Chiron in the 42 in conscious and the 51 unconscious. By the way, just a really quick aside, your conscious design is really more about your soul purpose, even though that sounds counterintuitive. And someday soon I'll do a Chiron, I'll do a quantum alignment show on soul purpose and life purpose. Your unconscious, which is the red, is actually your life purpose, the physical story of what you're living as your human self right now. So the 42 is the gate of finishing things. And it's oftentimes a gate where if you have this as a theme, sometimes you struggle to start things or to know what to start, because the 42 is all about coming into the middle of something and finishing. The 51, though, here's where you start to see themes play out also beautifully, is sometimes called the gate of shock, but it's not really about or designed to be about shocking you, like to although sometimes it can be really unsettling. It's really ultimately an energy that is about being initiated. I call it the spiritual barbed wire fence gate. Now, what it means basically, if you've got 51 anywhere in your chart, when you start to get off your path, or when you start to use your personal will to override divine will, life tends to come along and go bzz, bzz, and shock you back onto your path. So it is an initiating or a starting energy. So what we see in Sashka's chart is that she has a theme that is about knowing when to start, knowing what to start, and knowing what to finish. So I would imagine, looking at this chart, that the challenge for Sasha is to find her own inner place of direction so that she knows what to start and what to finish. And ultimately, when she learns that she is here to be in the flow of connection with her own self and her own intuition, and for her as the manifesting generator, the energy and the power and the direction of her sacral, that she will be in the flow of responding to whatever it is she needs to start and finish. And when she can be in that flow and get out of her head and trying to figure out what should I be doing, what should I be doing, what should I be doing, what should I start, what should I finish, she will ultimately serve as initiating force to teach people about the power of being aligned with the natural flow of spirit in the world. This is actually a very mystical, spiritual little chart here. Amy. Amy's Chiron is in the 27. The 27 is located right here. The 27 is the gate of responsibility. It is sometimes an energy that can be very closely associated with being, in its low expression, somewhat codependent, because what happens a lot of times with the 27 is you feel responsible for other people all the time. You want to take care of them, you want to nurture them, you want to love them. Sometimes at fault to yourself, meaning, or at cost to yourself, meaning you can compromise your own well-being for the sake of service to others. So the challenge here is learning to answer the following question. Okay? Whose problem is it? Okay, if you can learn to answer the question, whose problem is it, and take responsibility for yourself and learn to give other people responsibility for their own stuff, you then become someone who is here to teach people how to stand in a place of self-empowerment and to be accountable and responsible for their own power, their own energy, their own contribution to the world. Jennifer. Oh, I love this one. Hey, we're getting ready to play with this energy for a while. The sun is moving into the 21, I think on Sunday. The 21. The 21 sometimes is called the gate of control. It is the gate of the treasurer, is what we call it in human design. It has a theme of controlling. When you have the 21, your challenge is to learn to let go. Your challenge is to learn to trust. Your challenge is to not try to control things you're not in control of, and not to try to control others. And it's actually kind of interesting, particularly in this chart. This is a powerhouse of a chart. Jennifer has got like huge power configurations in this chart. So it's very easy for Jennifer to go, thanks God, I got this. Don't worry about it. I'll take it from here. And to not be in the divine flow of the unfolding of the cosmic plan because she wants to take control or charge of it, especially if it's not happening fast enough. So the theme for the 21 is to learn to let go, because when you let go, then you have access to actually greater power, and the resources that you have, by the way, this is also a teaching gate, the resources that you have then become more abundant, and you have greater capacity from learning to let go to be able to share with others. Martha has the 13, one of my favorite gates. The 13 is the gate of the listener, or the gate of the witness. And when you hold the 13 in your energy field, people tell you everything and anything. You become the keeper of the secrets. But it's from the stories that you bear witness to that you help people ultimately redefine the stories so that they can change the direction of their life. This is a direction giving energy. It's right here on the G. And the truth is, the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves in our lives, those stories actually cause us to create direction in life. The stories we have give direction to who we are. If you don't like the stories you're telling yourself and you want to change, if you don't like the direction your life is taking, you got to change a different story, tell a different story about who you think you are. So Martha's challenge in this Chiron, and for anybody who has the 13 in Chiron, is to not get stuck in the past, to not let the fear of the past repeating itself, and not let old stories and unforgiveness hold you back from crafting a story about who you believe yourself to be, so that you can begin to take your life in a direction that's really a reflection of the value of who you are. And once you learn to do that, then that's part of what you're here to give and share with the world.
So Karen, before you go on,
yes,
there's a general question that other people might be thinking of, but Mundi asks, how the charts so far have had the same gate for both design and personality, where hers are really different from each other, and they
won't be really different from each other because Chiron is a very slow moving planet. So they won't be, this gets a little bit complicated, but the hexagrams, when we look at how the sun and the earth or the planets move around all the gates in the chart, those gates are not in numerical order. So it's not like we start off the new year in gate 1 and then we move to gate 2 and gate 3. We actually start off on gate 41. This one actually, this is Erica. Her birthday's in January. She starts on the incarnation cross of the unexpected, or at least close to it. Actually, she's left angle. But speaking of which, that was weird. But yes, so your Chiron gate positions are going to be 2 gates that are next to each other in the sequence of how the planets move, because Chiron moves so slowly. The conscious Chiron is calculated at your birth date. The unconscious, the red one, is calculated 88 astrological degrees prior to your birthday. So it's about 3 months apart in timing, and it will either be close, it'll be next to each other on the sequence of how the gates progress, or it'll be the same gate just in a different line. And sometimes every once in a while it's even the same gate in the same line. Yes, Cindy, you were going to say something.
No, you actually answered it. We're going there.
Oh.
As we're going through, I'm keeping a running list to see what the questions, after you go through what your examples, if I might bring up some of the people's Chiron that we didn't cover as we go through the list.
All right, we'll try to hit them all. So, all right, so here we have one where we have 2 different gates. We have the 35, which is sometimes called the Jacker, or the Jill of all trades. I like to call it the gate of ennui. You've been there, done that. People with a 35 can generally figure just about anything out because they've got enough experience about knowing how to know that they can learn something pretty easily. The 45 is the gate of the Queen, and it's one of the leadership energies in the chart. So here we have somebody who has the 35, who has a journey that is about gaining or learning experience. And I would say probably one of Erica's challenges has been potentially having too much experience, not knowing when to stop having experiences, maybe sometimes boredom, which can be sort of a theme of this too. Boredom has driven her to leap from thing to thing to thing, and to try and to not quite get to that place where she has felt masterful because she's tried so many things. But ultimately, as she crosses that maturing point in the chart, it's from all of the variety of experiences that she's had that she weaves a tapestry of mastery, and then ultimately with that 45 is designed to take leadership based on her wisdom and her knowledge and experience of everything that she's experienced. The challenge is, especially in this chart, is her own sense of inadequacy, feeling like I don't know enough, I don't have enough experience, I'm not ready to lead, I'm not capable of leading, I need more time, I need more knowledge. None of that is true. You've got this, Erica. Go out and conquer the world and lead the world and teach them what you know. Liz has the 51. We've talked a little bit about the 51 as being an initiating gate. This is also somebody who has cross of consciousness, I believe. So again, the 51 is about learning to stay connected to source and spirit as your direction-giving energy, staying aligned with natural order, with the cosmic plan, staying connected to that, and trusting that no matter what unfolds, you know intuitively deep inside of yourself what you need to do, and you recognize that everything that happens to you is part of a cosmic plan that supports you in continuing to awaken and evolve and expand your consciousness. Every event in your life, when you have the 51 in Chiron, or your Chiron is in the 51, every event in your life has been about making sure you stay awake, stay connected to source, stay aligned with spirit, and that you don't fall into a state of despair and feel powerless over what's going on, but that you instead recognize that you are constantly being poked by the universe to stay awake, because your purpose in life ultimately is to wake other people up to spirit, to be an initiating force in whatever it is that you teach and share with the world. You're here to wake people up with what it is that you know and what it is that you're capable of and what it is that you've experienced in your own life and your understanding of spirit. You will, however, sometimes be a little shocking in how you wake them up. Nisa has the 42, which we talked about earlier, which is the gate of finishing things, and the 3, which is an energy of mutative innovation. So again, if you remember this, I just want to point this out because human design has a lot of numbers and a lot of stuff in it. There's nothing random in this chart. It's a story, and it's a story that sometimes plays out with different characters, but the themes, the challenges of what it means to be human and the adventures of the human experience are pretty consistent and pretty clear in the chart, and they play out in lots of different ways, but they play out over and over again. Anyway, okay, so the 42 is finishing things. The 3 is also kind of an initiating or starting energy. The 3 is about bringing in something completely new, right? Bringing in a new idea, an innovation, a new concept. It's very innovative and very edgy, right? So Nissa has this challenge of letting go of the old, that's the finishing in the 42, and embracing the new. And I would even venture to guess, looking at this chart, that Nissa has probably always been, as a manifester, in this very powerful cycle of always being on the leading edge of what's next, always being on the leading edge of what's new, or feeling like she's not keeping up. So she has to keep working, learning, growing, because if she doesn't keep working, learning, growing, she's not going to feel like she's staying on that leading edge of the next new exciting adventurous thing. And ultimately what she's here to do is to give other people direction in staying on the cutting edge or the leading edge of what's next, what's innovative and what's new. Georgia's, again, same thing here. See, I told you we're not going to be covering as much as you think we were. When Kristen was like, we have 100 charts. I'm like, don't worry, it's not that much Chiron movement in the last 35, 40 years, 50 years, relatively speaking. Okay, the Chiron in the 3, I just talked about the 3, that's that innovation. So when you've only got the innovation here without anything other factor in the Chiron, it means that George's challenge is always going to be about, how do I keep new? How do I stay current? How do I continue to evolve? How do I know what's the next new thing to do? How do I stay true to the innovations that I long to bring forward into the world? Where do I find my tribe of people who fit in with me, who I fit in with, who are willing to stay on the leading edge of whatever's next on the planet? So I would venture to guess, Georgia, you may have spent a certain amount of time in your life wondering, where the heck are my people? And when is the spaceship coming back to get me, right? So, Susan, here we have a new one. Susan's Chiron is in the conscious 41. The 41 is the gate of fantasy. It's an energy that is actually a very powerful alchemical energy. The human design year actually starts on the 41, and the 41 is an energy that sort of does an overview of the world, and in response to what it sees, comes up with fantasies about what else is possible. So it's a very powerful beginning energy, a very creative energy, and it's from that vision of what else is possible. And remember, this is that place where we recognize and understand everything in our world right now. My computer table, my computer, my coffee cup, my earbuds, whatever is in your reality. Everything started first with an idea, a thought in mind, right? So that 41 energy is that idea, it's that spark, it's that initiating concept that, oh, what would happen if? So she has this tremendous creative energy in her conscious Chiron. Her unconscious Chiron is in the 19. Now the 19 is all about intimacy. It's about connection. Sometimes it's about neediness. It's also, by the way, an energy, if you have this in your chart anywhere, that connects you deeply with mammalian energy. So oftentimes people with this energy are, they're animal empaths or animal communicators, and they have a deep connection with the animal world. And certainly they can be highly sensitive. They can be, people with the 19 especially are usually very sensitive, highly sensitive people who can sense and feel shifts and changes in energies and emotional energies, and can tell like what's going on in the world based on shifts and changes in the energies. With the 41 and the Chiron in the 41 and then the 19, the challenge here is not letting the sensitivity of who she is or what she experiences and feels drop her into fantasy to the degree to which she's not grounded and connected with reality and gets stuck creating what she really wants to be creating, who maybe compromises what she really wants to create in order to please other people. Now, Susan, if you're listening, I just want you to know that you are designed to be extraordinarily successful doing something exceptionally unusual. You are not designed to be normal. And if you're compromising who you are and what you want to create because you're trying to fit in and because you're afraid it's going to rock the boat and upset everybody else, give it up, lady. Go for it. Go for the full-on creative self. By the way, the 41 oftentimes is also the marker of a writer and people who like to write and create in that way as well. So go out there and get your creative energy on and go create what you're here to create, and don't worry about what other people think. Okay, Linda, she says, what are some empowered ways to break free from my old patterns of my Chiron? All right, the 54. I love the 54. It's one of my favorite Chiron energies. You were probably born around 1954 because that's when this was transiting through. So Chiron in the 54 is actually, this is also an initiating energy. It can sometimes be an energy about knowing what to start and when to start. This is the place where business ideas are born. So sometimes people with the 54 have a lot of ideas and they have to wait until the timing is right before they can make their ideas happen. So when I see somebody who is this powerful, this is a very powerful chart. She's a manifesting generator with leadership, with passion, with creativity, with impact in her chart, right? When I see somebody that has this much power and this much passion, but who has the 54, Chiron in the 54, it says sometimes if you're not waiting and paying attention to the cues and slowing down and taking a breath and really being clear about what you want to create, you might be creating willy-nilly all over the place. When you are aligned with what's correct for you, meaning when you take your time and you're conscious and deliberate, your business ideas and your other ideas actually can come to fruition. That 54 is actually the energy of enlightenment. It is the place where when we are connected again to that source of divine ideas instead of our own ideas, our own answers, when we stay connected to the source of divine ideas, we are inspired then to create things that transform pain in the world into something of value and ultimately supports the world in transforming and becoming a more joyful and beautiful place. So I would say for you, Linda, the trick is meditate. And you might need to do a walking meditation because it's probably hard for you to sit. Okay. Chiron, Alina in the 24 and the 27. Oh, this is an interesting one. Are we doing good so far, Cindy? Anything I need to jump into?
I have there's lots of people putting their Chiron gates in both on Facebook and here in the chat. But
okay, I'm going as fast as I can.
Them that you've been going through some of the Chiron, the lessons that Chiron does in that gate would imply for them too. It's not.
Yes, pay attention. Pay attention because I may go through your Chiron because, as I said, it doesn't move that fast. And I may hit some of your Chiron theme. And even if I don't, I'm trying to give you enough of a description of these gates that even if you have these in your chart, you're at least getting something out of it. So Chiron in the conscious 24 and the unconscious 27. The 24 is a tricky little gate. It's a gate that is called rationalization. And sometimes what happens with the 24 is you literally rationalize. Sometimes you rationalize allowing less than what you're really worthy of, or you rationalize staying in situations that are not good for you, and you put up with or you tolerate less than what you deserve. Now, the 27, which is the unconscious position of this Chiron, as I talked about earlier, is responsibility. And it can sometimes be taking on responsibility for things that you're not responsible for or for other people, and denying other people the opportunity to experience the accountability and responsible for their own choices. So, Alina, same question for you as I said before. Whose problem is it? That is the most important question for you to learn to answer for yourself. Whose problem is it? And if it is not your problem, give it back to the person who it belongs to. And secondly, question here for you is, are you tolerating or allowing less than what you're really worthy of? And are you rationalizing staying put in situations that are not good for you because you're rationalizing it? So once you master that rationalization, and once you learn about responsibility and you learn how to give it back to the people where it belongs, you are here to help people find the blessings in their pain. And you're here to hold them accountable for discovering what they can do with those blessings so that they can turn those blessings into changes in who they believe themselves to be and define themselves to be, so they can go forward in the world in a brand new and empowered way. Looking at Tanya's at the Chiron. Chiron is in the 2 and the 24. Again, the rationalization piece and the unconscious. And the 2 is about receptivity. I love the 2. It is actually a hexagram that's called yin-yin. It is purely feminine, not by gender, but feminine by energy, purely about receiving. What the 2 says, the 2 actually comes off the bottom of the G center here. The 2 says that because I am who I am, I am fully supported in receiving everything I need to fulfill my purpose in the world, okay? We are actually designed to be abundant because we exist, not because of anything we do. But what happens to a lot of us, especially because we are taught to use our willpower and to go out and make it happen, and the value of who we are is directly tied to how much work we do, that's not true. You are valuable because you exist. But that too is about allowing yourself to receive, to allow yourself to be supported in a way that is worthy of you. To not rationalize, in your case, Tanya, not rationalize receiving less than, to not rationalize allowing less than, or to push away. That's the other part of allowing, right? Is you, oh no, not me, no, pushing away that support because you've rationalized that you don't need it, or you don't have to have it, or you don't want to take it away from other people. So don't rationalize not allowing, okay? Allow yourself, and then find again the blessings and the challenges, and from those blessings teach other people how they can allow greater and better things in their life too. Did you notice like everybody has a 4037 on this call? What is up with this, huh? So, okay, here we have the 61, we haven't done this one yet, and the 54. After this chart, I'm gonna pause and go through the storytelling template. Cindy, just remind me if I forget.
You have about 15 more minutes.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I cover that first so I don't get, before I get distracted and go deep into more charts. Okay, so the 61, the sun in the conscious 61. The 61 is up here at the top, one of the head center gates. It is the gate of wonder. I mean, literally like wonder, staying in a state of wonder and awe. It is an energy that causes you to spend a lot of time thinking about why. And it's not just why, like why me, but why, like why is the sky blue? Why do the birds sing? Why are we here? Why, it's those beautiful, unanswerable, pondering, awe and wonder-filled kinds of questions. And it is actually one of the most creative energies in the chart. In fact, the more we stay in the question of, or the state of wonder and awe, the more we actually stimulate our creativity, and we allow ourselves to transcend our conditioning, to push beyond the limitations of what we're conditioned to think is possible, and to attract into our experience things that go beyond what we think are possible. So a very, very important, very, very creative energy. And actually, my new book, Quantum Creativity, I talk a lot about the state of wonder and why, and science actually shows us that being in a state of wonder actually amplifies our creativity and our capacity to consciously pull experiences out of the quantum field.
That's your unpublished book right now on quantum.
Unpublished. It's unpublished.
It's the up and coming book that you're working on right now.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And when you're done, we did have a couple of questions that.
Okay, so hang on. Let me finish 61 and 54. So The 61 is about staying in a state of wonder, but not getting trapped in the question why, and then trying to figure it out, which is going to be easy to do with this chart, Sylvia. So don't worry about figuring out the why. Stay in the state of wonder and let the answers show up for you. The 54 is enlightenment. Please, please, please meditate. If you can meditate or find some way to quiet your mind and not drive yourself crazy trying to figure everything out, and just hold that space, the epiphanies will show up for you. And ultimately, you are here to teach people how to connect more deeply with the state of wonder and the state of enlightenment that ultimately is a source of tremendous creative power in the human experience. Okay, I'm going to stop here for just a second. Okay, go ahead, Cindy. You have a question for me.
This is with the handouts that we gave in the Gates cheat sheet. I can. You have that it has the rebellious, repressed, and rebellious.
Yes, I'm going to open this
so
up
you
and
have
block it.
the original, the mastery one, and so there was a question, what does that mean in the Gates keynote?
Okay, let me show you this. All right, I want to walk you through this because I'm going to give you guys homework today for today's quantum alignment show. You all have homework. So you should have a link to a handout that looks kind of like this, right? So what I've done is Cindy has also given you a Gates cheat sheet. And what you'll see on the Gates cheat sheet is there's the name of the gate. Then it'll say mastery. And the mastery part is that's the goal. That's where you're headed towards with your Chiron. You want to get to where you're living out the highest expression of that gate. The rebellious expression of that gate happens when, over the course of your life, if people have told you, no, don't do that. If they've tried to shut down that energy in you, and that happens sometimes, that sometimes we overcompensate. And we come back with the theme that has been repressed in our life, and we push with it to the extreme in a rebellious way. All right. So you may, I don't have a Gates cheat sheet in front of me, but I would say a rebellious expression of, say, the Gate 54, that gate of ideas and enlightenment, might be to be so ambitious and to have so many ideas that you go over the top, over extreme in trying to push everything out into the world, right? So it's that over the top extreme expression. Repression, sometimes when we get, when people tell us, don't do that, no, stop, and they try to, they turn off or they tell us it's not okay for us to be who we are, we go underground with that energy and we repress it. And the repressed expression is what happens when you try to push that energy of yourself, that truth of who you are, when you try to push it down. So that's the repressed expression. The masterful expression is going to be the highest possible way to experience that energy. Does that make sense?
Just what you, for Gate 54, the ambition gate, you had said repressed was indifferent, which is what you said, but in different words. And the rebellious part was you had given us conniving and greedy, or that you can't have enough. And your mastery, what you put on it is aspiration, ascension, and visionary.
Right. So let's use the Gate 54 as an example, just again, with our story template. And the only reason I'm doing this is storytelling is actually a really powerful way to integrate on an emotional and on a mental level how we experience something. Telling a story about it actually is, remember as I said when we talked about the Gate 13, we are actually designed to take our life direction from the stories we tell about ourselves. When we want to take our life in a new direction, we have to start first by telling the stories. So I wanted to give you just a little storytelling template. This is something I do in a great depth with all the elements in the chart in the Quantum Alignment Program, which, by the way, we're getting ready. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to start the beginning sequence of waking back and opening up the Quantum Alignment Interest Group and putting information in the Quantum Alignment Interest Group. So it's been dormant for a while because we're taking a little pause in the program, but we'll be starting it up again. And I'll tell you guys more about it later. But this little template is a really cool little tool to look at the different gates in your chart and the planetary position. So we know, for example, that Chiron is a place of challenge slash adventure, right? And that the theme of Chiron sometimes comes back and repeats itself over and over again in different ways, same theme, different expression as we go through cycles of growth and expansion. And then ultimately as we mature, particularly when we come to that 48 to 52-year-old age range, the challenge that is in Chiron comes up into our face and we do this final push against it. And from that final push against it, we actually become masterful over what our Chiron theme is. And we emerge into a place where we take what we've learned from our Chiron experience and share it with the world. So we know that the gate 54, as I've been talking about, is the gate of enlightenment. It's the place where we receive divine inspiration, and that oftentimes the divine inspiration in the 54 is an idea, a business idea, an idea of how we can take something and transform it into something bigger, something of greater value that we can in turn give back to the culture, use to share with others. That's really the basic root of what business is all about. So let's go with what would that look like if I was going to tell the story of Chiron in the 54 in somebody's chart. So it might go like this. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful girl who had so many ideas about what she wanted to do with her life. She went to college and she studied business and she went to business school and she worked in a telecom corporation and she moved up rapidly in the corporation and became a CFO of a major corporation. And even though she was really, really good at business and she was really, really ambitious, she was also really dissatisfied because even though she was doing business, it wasn't interesting. It wasn't connected to spirit. It made good money, but there was just something inside of her that just felt like she was going to die if she kept having to work this job that she was doing. So every day, this is the second part of the template, she would go to work and she would have all these other ideas about what she could be doing and how she could be making the world a better place. But she couldn't do what she wanted to do because she felt trapped in this business that was paying really good money, and she didn't want to let go of the job because she was afraid that she wouldn't know what to do next if she let go of that job and started pursuing her dreams. But one day she walked into the office and she said, I can't do this anymore. I quit. And because of that, she spent a lot of time at home going, oh my God, what did I just do? I quit my job. I'm now having to become a business person all by myself. I'm having to face that I now have to learn all this new stuff about business and building a website. And I'm in this powerful, powerful learning cycle. And because of that, I'm having to deal with my fears and my lack of faith. And I'm questioning my own value and I'm questioning my sanity. And because of that, I'm having to go study and learn and explore all these things that I never thought that I would learn. And because of that, and because of the stress that I now put myself under because I quit my job and I'm freaked out and I don't know what I'm going to do next, I went to go take a transcendental meditation course and now I'm meditating every day. And because of that, I'm suddenly finding this stillness inside of myself. And as I'm sitting every day and I'm meditating and connecting to source, I'm seeing that, whoa, I don't have to figure all this out. That actually when I let go and I stay in this divine flow, inspiration comes to me, and that inspiration feels so different than this crazy stuff that was going on here. It's like it's down here and it's in my body and it's so clear and aligned. And I wake up and I know what I need to do. And every day I'm working on building the pieces of my business that I need to build and recognizing that my business is a spiritual journey and it's about what I'm here to contribute. And so as I'm waiting for the next step to reveal itself to me, I'm doing the homework, I'm laying the foundation, I'm building the websites, I'm building a relationship, I'm writing a book. And then finally one day, as she continued to deepen this place of clarity and this place of being enlightened with her approach to how she was going to contribute something valuable to the world, people began to notice what she was doing. And they recognized the value of who she was. And when they stood with her, they could connect so deeply with this place of enlightened drive, this enlightened dreaming, and this enlightened vision for what she wanted to bring forth into the world. And they supported her, and they participated with her, and they hired her, and they asked her for her insights and her value. And ever since then, she's been on a path of alignment with contributing from a place of who she genuinely is. That's what I want you to do with your Chiron. Tell the story of your Chiron. Tell the story of what's possible for your Chiron. Even if you're not living out the masterful part of it yet, see if you can't craft a story to imagine the possibility of what your life would look like if you were living out the more masterful expression of that Chiron. What have you learned from your Chiron? What have you learned about yourself just from this little exercise? And what do you need to do to deepen the full expression of who you are in the world? So, good. I'm like seeing this chat thing light up, light up, light up, light up.
Oh, well, that's me answering some of the other questions.
Oh, good. It's like, oh, I left more questions in there.
We're at about 2 minutes until the top of the hour, and so we didn't get through everyone's Chiron gate, because there are a few that I don't think we did. But with the gate here I'm going again, with the gate cheat sheet, or better yet, your book, if they were to look at that, because then they would say, my Chiron is, so this is where I would be learning this and then turning it around and be able to teach some. Is that correct? Or is there a better thing for that?
Here's what, and again, in that worksheet, I asked you some really fun questions to play with, but I really want you to ask yourself, how has this theme played out in my life? What has been the high expression of this theme, and what has been maybe the low expression of this theme? And if I've been living out the low expression at various points along the way, how has that either held me back, or what have I learned from wrestling with that theme that has helped me grow and become who I am today? Does that make sense?
It did to me. And
okay, good.
I'm not sure. I mean, people are that they're feeling that they didn't get, but I think that they would actually get more doing the journaling exercise with you just looking at the keywords than having.
Okay, so let's keep it super simple. Find your Chiron. Take the gate cheat sheet. Look at what is the repressed and the rebellious expression of the Chiron, your Chiron gate, okay? From that Chiron gate, from that repressed or rebellious expression, ask yourself, has either the repressed or the rebellious expression held you back in any way in your life and in your life story? So ask yourself, where have I used this energy, these lower expressions of this energy, where have those lower expressions maybe held me back, okay? And then I want you to look at the masterful expression. And look at that masterful expression and ask yourself, what do I need to do? And by the way, you don't have to have these answers. This is the brilliance of asking these questions. The answers will come to you as you write or as you contemplate more. What do I need to do to move from this rebellious or repressed expression of this energy to this masterful expression of this energy? So stay in that question of how can you transform your experience of this energy from the repression or the rebellious expression to the masterful expression. Just do that. Keep it that simple if you want to play with it that way. I was going to say one more thing. I'm seeing if I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, just keep it simple. Just keep it really simple for now. What's the repressed and the rebellious expression? What do I need to do to move it to the more masterful expression? If you don't have your Chiron, by the way, you guys, shoot us an email, Karen@joyfulmission.com. Send us an email. We'll get you a copy of your Chiron, or we'll look it up and see what your Chiron is and send it back to you so you have that. please remember that we are looking at parts of the chart out of context of the whole. The big, big answer to how do I master my Chiron is this. You ready? Live true to your type and your strategy. Follow your type and your strategy. Your life is going to naturally unfold when you live true to who you are in such a way that you will begin to get everything you need to live the more masterful expression of not just your Chiron, but everything in your chart. You are designed, and we've been talking about this a lot over the last few weeks, you are designed to love yourself, to be powerful, to be fully expressing the truth of who you are, to be defining stories that give you direction in life in the way that work best for you, to be supported by spirit, to be physically vital, to get all the resources, to allow all the resources you need to do what you came here to do, and to ultimately share who you are with the world in a way that's healthy and powerful and compassionate for not only yourself, but for the people around you. Live your strategy, and all those little pieces will line up. And as we go through the rest of the month, we're going to continue to look at these little pieces. We're looking at little pieces of a puzzle, that puzzle that is you. We're going to look at these little pieces in the context of the whole. You're going to find, because as I said, there's nothing random in these charts. Whatever the theme is in your Chiron is probably playing out in your Saturn. It's probably playing out in your Mars. It's probably playing out in your Neptune. It's possibly playing out in your Moon. It's probably playing out in your nodes. It's probably playing out in your incarnation cross. Everything in the chart is pretty consistent and true, and it's pretty aligned. So you're probably not going to have this, I will guarantee you, you're not going to have this random weird thing stuck on the bottom of your chart called your Chiron. It's playing a big part in the entire picture of who you are and the story of what you're here to master in this lifetime. But go play with it. Look at the repressed, look at the rebellious, ask yourself, is there some way that what do I need to do to move myself from these repressed or rebellious expressions if you feel like you're still living those out? What do I need to do to move to the more masterful expression of this energy in my chart? Does that make sense? Is that good?
I think that's good. We still have a couple more days of your March Madness sale.
Yes. So all of our human design courses and all of our professional level trainings are on sale for 35% off until March 31st at midnight. I think that's tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow, right?
It's tomorrow.
So tomorrow the March Madness sale ends. If you are really looking at, wow, I need to move through some of these challenges here, there are certainly programs that I would encourage you to look at that are very, very supportive that will help you move through some of this. Certainly any of the quantum activation programs, certainly the deconditioning by design is a really great program for this. The life purpose by design program, I put that on sale last week, and I shut the sale down because I'm doing an open Q&A. And I had way more people sign up for that than I was expecting. So I have actually, if you bought this last week, I did open up a couple of extra Q&A sessions because I wanted to make sure we don't have too many people in the Q&A session and you don't get your questions answered. So we will have sort of micro Q&A sessions, and you're going to get assigned to a Q&A so that there's not so many people in there. The other thing I just want to let you know is I'm having another sale within a sale. A lot of you guys sent me emails this week about, well, I want to know how my intuition is, because last week I guess I talked about, I don't know what I talked about, but I talked about intuition and where intuition is in the chart and how you're hardwired for intuition. So I decided also I'm putting the Intuition by Design program on sale too. So that's, it's normally, I think it's $297. It's on sale until tomorrow night at midnight for $97. And again, I'm going to add a live Q&A to that too. So you can bring your chart and look at, how does your intuition work? Are you claircognizant? Are you an empath? Are you a medium? Are you somebody who smells intuitively? Are you a medical medium? Do you hear voices? Whatever it is. So the Intuition by Design program is on sale. It's a sale within a sale. It's actually way less than 35% off. So all of that information, Cindy's going to post the links for you guys. All of that information will be in the links.
It's also on your handout.
And it's also on your handout. So there you go. Thank you for doing that. I forgot we did that. So anyway, here's the bottom line. You are designed to not be in pain. Okay, how's that? There is no suffering on the human design chart. Zero, nada. You can't find suffering on the chart. We're not designed to suffer. But sometimes when we get stuck in the struggle and we get stuck in the repressed and the rebellious expression of our energies, when we resist ourselves, when we buy into the myth that we are less than who we are, or that we shouldn't be who we are because we don't fit in or it's not right, when we settle for or rationalize, we talked about the gate 24 a lot, rationalize allowing less than what we're worthy of, then we artificially create suffering in our lives. You're not designed to suffer. So please, if you will, do this work. Look at what might be holding you back. Discover who you are. Figure your chart out, either on your own or get some support from a human design specialist. Go to understandinghumandesign.com. We have tons of amazing, beautiful people who are really, really great and very compassionate and well-trained and just love to help you go through your chart and figure yourself out so that you can really craft for yourself a life that you're worthy of living. Don't let yourself be held in an artificial prison of your own making that keeps you, that holds you back from being who you really are. Go out, be free, be who you are. We need you to be who you are. You deserve to be who you are. And I definitely think you deserve to not be suffering. No suffering. The moratorium on suffering. All right? Good. All right. I appreciate your patience. I talked as fast as I could. I know I hope I got to hope I got to at least some of the major Chiron points. We may do this again if you guys want to do this again and make sure we get through all these as well.
But you do have, with this 35% off sale, there is where you did the class going through the Chiron gates called Dancing with the Stars.
There is a class that if you are wanted to learn more about the Chiron gates, that's a good one. The other one that's really good if you're newer to human design is there's a red flag gates. That's a really great class to help you understand your gates, and some of the gates that sometimes are a little bit more challenging are in that one. That's a really good one too. So, all right, you guys, I hope you all have a happy Easter or a happy Passover or a happy full moon or whatever it is that you're doing. I hope you're just happy. And thank you, Cindy, again, as always, for your help. Thank you all for joining us this week. And next week it'll be Cindy and Jamie running the show. And
I'm feeling empowered already.
Yay! They will be talking about getting to the heart of who you are and looking at the G Center and the Will Center. So I hope you guys enjoy and have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye.